Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to a brand new game released by Netmarble, Solo Leveling Arise. Now, normally we don't review games on this channel unless they fit a very strict criteria, and this one, in fact, fits almost all of the criteria. The only thing it's missing is being a Marvel IP. It's got your standard virtual joystick. You've got crisp graphics, very, very nice graphics. You got good sound engineering, good music. You got voice acting, if I'm not talking over them. You got cutscenes. And then you've got the typical ARPG gameplay loop with skills on a cooldown, dodge rolling, and all that stuff. Packaged within that is a very popular manhwa turned into an anime turned into a TV show. Or sorry, turned into a video game, not a TV. The anime is the TV show. This is the video game. Anywho, I'm showing you this boss battle here against this giant arachnid. This is the Chapter 3 boss. Spoiler alert here. And I'm going to show you how the game works so that you guys can appreciate it before we get into what's good about the game and what's bad about the game. This is not a sponsored video. This is just something that I wanted to talk to you guys about because I have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts about this game, and a lot of them relate to NFF, frankly. So yeah, I'll show you guys first, and then we'll talk later. So as you can see, the gameplay loop is it's very familiar, right? You have skills that you attack with, and they do damage, and they have a special animation. And then they're the boss with HP, and then you dodge their attacks. The dodge is a bit unique, I would say, to this game. It's obviously in something like Diablo Immortal and other titles, but it's becoming fairly synonymous with the ARPG genre, even for fully fledged, PC games, like even Diablo 4 has this now, and PoE 2 is going to get it and stuff like that. So yeah, the ARPG genre is evolving to have this kind of like MMO-like dodge. Anywho. What I really like about this game, let's break it down here. Obviously, you can see the graphics, fantastic. The gameplay itself is quite responsive and snappy, which I like. Very MFF friendly, which is also something that I like, so it didn't take me any time at all to get into it. You got a couple of quick time event like skills where you press a button when it appears, and it allows you to do a sort of like iframe move, which is nice, and there's some camera angle changes and things like that, which is great. And it's also a game, as you'll see, once I can get it to happen. I think I've already done it a couple times, but hopefully we'll get it again. That rewards skill. The game seems to have quite a high skill cap, or quite a high skill level, if you really want to make the most of things, because of the dodge. The dodge, coupled with the telegraphed attacks of the boss with these red circles and red lines on the ground, allow you to be rewarded for having really good reflexes. So if you're actually able to dodge perfectly, like a last-minute dodge sort of thing, sort of like an Elden Ring type thing, you'll be rewarded with time slow, and then in some cases, at least for the assassin class, you actually get an additional skill that pops up and you get to do some additional damage. So it's a very high skill cap game if you want to get into the nitty-gritty and stuff like that, but it also has just your standard hack and slash, there we go, extreme evasion, your standard hack and slash kind of momentary. This boss is pretty... Did we finally kill him? I was gonna say he's really tanky. There we go. We finally got the killing blow on him. We get this sort of manhwa style, manga style finisher here. But this really illustrates the best parts of the game. So that's what I really wanted to start off with, because I don't want to, unless the game's really bad, right? I don't want to start off with slagging a game by showing off its worst aspects. So I wanted to show off its best aspects in case this is a game that you'd be interested in, right? To check out, because it's free to play, obviously. It's only available in Canada right now. I probably should have mentioned that earlier in the video. It's only available in Canada right now, so you'd have to use a VPN if you're not in Canada, but it's fairly easy to do that. And this is really where the game shines. It shines in its single-player content, and it shines in its ability to basically make you feel like the story you read or the story that you watched in the anime is now coming to life, and you're now piloting this main character, this Jinwoo, hunter. So I would recommend, right off the bat, we'll go into the rest of this later, but I would recommend either, if you're interested in a game like this, if this seems interesting to you, right, if the gameplay's oh, it's not bad, I would highly, highly recommend either before you play or while you're playing, read the manhwa. It's completely free. There's, I believe, 170-something chapters. There's more now for some reason, but I believe it ended after 179 or 176 chapters. But there's more chapters. Anyways, there's a lot of chapters. There's a lot to read for sure, but it's very easy reading, right? It's like a graphic novel. There's images everywhere. You can just, zoom through it. It's not dense, academic reading. But there's also an anime. There's also a TV show for it. It's on Crunchyroll and other things. I'm sure you could find it online. You know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. There's 10 episodes right now, so you could even catch up with it that way. But I think this is the best way to experience the game. And I think it's also one of its biggest weaknesses, because I think if you don't have any attachment to this universe, to the solo leveling universe, and if you haven't read the manhwa, you haven't watched the anime, you're gonna not feel anything for any of these characters. And as you'll see from the rest of my review, that's a really big issue, I think, with this game moving forward long term. And that's why I'm kind of hesitant to, I hesitate to say it's gonna succeed. I want it. I mean, I guess I want it to succeed. I don't want anything to fail. If I feel bad when things fail, because people put a lot of, you know, their energy into stuff like this. But not everything can succeed, frankly. And this also reminds me of a game like Marvel Future Fight, of course, that has succeeded for so long, and sort of the hallmarks of what has made that game endure. So all that sounds great, Alex. Why is the game not, you know, why are you not worried? Why are you not confident about this game succeeding long term? Why are you sort of already giving the game sort of a short time span on this earth as far as mobile games go? Well, first of all, I would say, have you noticed mobile games lately? I feel like more mobile games these days shut down or get sort of put on a short leash and then get very little maintenance service now more than ever. And on top of that, there's just fewer big name mobile games coming out. Like, at one point, there were so many big mobile games coming out that some of the biggest companies, Netmarble, Kabam, Supercell, they were just pumping out hit after hit. You know, it feels like it was just a few years ago we had, you know, Contest of Champions ramping, we had, you know, 7 Days Since Grand Cross coming out, Clash Royale came out, all these games, and now it's just dead, bro. It's just dead. There's just nothing, bro. And so it's not so much solo leveling, this game being bad, as much as it is people just don't have the same patience, I believe, and I certainly don't have the same patience for mobile games, and they really have to not suck, and they really have to also not, I don't know, they have to not feel like a mobile game, if that makes sense, 24/7. And I think that's one of the problems with this game, is that it constantly reminds you that it's a mobile game. I feel like it's trying to not remind you it's a mobile game and trying to make you feel like you're in this cool digital world and you can move around the camera. Like, the camera's nice and everything, but to me, it constantly reminds you that you're a game. Like, you're playing a mobile game. That's not the main thing, but it's just like a side thing. Things that I don't like about the game, besides the fact that I already mentioned, if you don't read or watch it, you're going to miss out on a ton, is mainly that you have to pull for new characters. Now, normally, this is not a deal breaker for me. I've played games where you have to pull for characters. You know, some of the most popular games that I didn't mention recently, like Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, you have to pull for characters, right? We know about the Arknights, Nikke, you know, whatever. The one with the donkey girls, whatever. But the issue with pulling for characters in a game like this, specifically this game, is that I don't give a shit. And the I don't give a shit meter on this game is through the roof. It's like nuclear. Because the whole story of solo leveling, I mean, it's literally in the title, solo leveling. It's about the dude. It's about this guy, Jinwoo, leveling and becoming stronger and becoming a god, essentially. And so when you have such a centric, focused story around one character, it's kind of hard to make players give a shit about the other characters. Now, you can see here I have Sung Jinwoo. That's like my main guy, right? That's your main character. You don't change that character. And this is your main dude. Everybody gets him. You can level him up differently, which is interesting. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty here, but it is interesting, okay, that you have different ways of leveling up the character. I do appreciate the freedom to sort of craft your own Jinwoo. That's great. That's awesome. But you still have weapons and you still have classes and stuff like that. It does follow the story of the manhwa, but it's, anyways, whatever. But the issue is the rest of the game, right? Because the game doesn't function. They can't monetize the game if you're just buying weapons for him and buying cosmetics for him. So they decided to introduce the rest of the hunters. So as you can see here, we have 22 different hunters available besides Jinwoo. And they're probably going to add, they're absolutely going to add more as the game progresses. And there's going to be, you know, big time polls. You know, they're going to go to maybe a double, whatever. They have SSR plus, LR, whatever, UR. They're going to have big names. They're going to do collabs, whatever. That's cool. They're going to have new hunters. But again, this is the thing. I don't really care. I don't really give a shit. Now, I'm not a hardcore super fan of solo leveling. Maybe for the hardcore super fans out there, they will care about like Kim Sang-shik or like Han Song-yi. but I don't care. And I feel like the majority of players are not going to care either. They're going to maybe care about a couple of waifus or a couple of husbandos that they're like really into, right? Sure. There's certainly a couple of cool characters, and all of the characters have like a unique weapon. You can see an open hand, and it's like this like crown fist thingamajig. And then you got Booba over here with the big Chun-Li thighs and the huge ass, and she's got her unparalleled bravery weapon. Like, for sure. Don't get me wrong, the characters look great, and the designs from the manhwa are great. Right, very, very cool. But again, these are all side characters who just exist in the orbit, in the gravity around Sung Jin-woo, and that's genuinely the truth. And so it's like, I don't know, man. I don't really have the space to give a shit about these characters. Some of them look cool. Like, this dude looks really cool. Don't get me wrong. He looks really cool. But these are not the main guys. They're like the side pieces to your main character. So it may be like a fundamental flaw in the game, or maybe they're going to change it in the future. But to me, it's just like a hard sell to be like, hey, spend money on this game, buy tickets so that you can unlock these other guys who are not as strong as your main guy who we gave you right away. You know, the universe doesn't really, it doesn't really function in the same way. So I don't know. And just to show you guys what I mean as well, if we go into one of these old missions, okay, and we replay it, you'll see here, like, you see how the screen is set up? This kind of illustrates to me the philosophy of the game. You have, on the far left, you have your main guy. That's you, right? You're the main character. You're the MC of the story, which makes sense. And then you just have your cronies, your little bitches, your pawns. If you're playing Dragon's Dogma 2, you'll know what I mean. And that's cool. They can be strong. In some cases, maybe they're stronger than your main hero, right? I don't know. However, that's not even possible, because they tell you explicitly in the tutorial that these characters can never be higher level than your Sung Jin-woo. So they're locked to his level or lower. So it just, again, it's just like, if it sort of feels like the game, the story of solo leveling was simultaneously perfect to be converted into a game, and also terrible to be converted into a game. Because it always feels like every other character is playing second fiddle to the main guy. And that's just sort of a natural issue with the story. Aside from that, I will be honest, I haven't unlocked most of the other content in the game. As you can see here, it's locked by chapter completion, and I just haven't had enough time to play the game to really unlock Power of Destruction, Battlefield Trials, Battlefield of Time, etc. The game obviously is not going to have as much content as a game that's 7, 8, 9 years old, so I wouldn't bother comparing it to any of those. But the content that it does have seems pretty good. There is some variety to the content that you do. There's some content that is sort of like auto. It's sort of like idle content here. I'm trying to get out of this fucking menu. You have this like activity fund thing where you just sort of collect over time, and it's just static here. It's just like statically collecting in the background, and you can whatever pick it up every 24 hours. You also have these dispatch missions where you send characters to gates, and they just mine, they passively mine rewards for you, and then you can you know, go and clear new ones, and you level up your mining to get more rewards. So, you know, there's a nice healthy balance of like manual play stuff, auto play stuff, and then this sort of like passive AFK farming kind of stuff, which is good. Haven't really been able to check out PvP and stuff like that, whatever. Not really going to comment on the rates of drops as far as like gambling for the characters goes. Some people do that, and that's great. I don't really care. For me, unless the game has a super compelling reason for why I ought to do this, I'm not even going to bother, right? Like, and that's why I never even got into Genshin, because I just could not bring myself to give a shit about Trenti and Venti. You know, for those of you wondering, I'll probably keep this game installed on my phone and play it from time to time, but yeah, I don't really see this one becoming a mainstay in my rotation. And yeah, it sort of just makes me feel like maybe I'm getting too old. I'm growing too old for mobile games. Or maybe it's just this style of game where you have one super dominant character that just does not appeal to me. Because I'll say this, if they had a game like this, but it was an IP like Marvel, or if it was an IP like DC, or if it was an IP like even something like 7 Deadly Sins, I would probably play it a lot, because there's so much more incentive to build multiple characters, right? But at this point, I just cannot get past that, like, why build anyone but the main guy sort of syndrome. So yeah, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think, if you've tried this game out, or if you were looking forward to it, if you really like the manhwa, etc. Thanks so much for watching. Smash the like button, it helps with the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.